From furry ball pits to TwitchCon spinal injuries and stalkers at anime expos, tournaments and conventions have been host to a wide range of scandals over the years. And yeah, you guys might know the big ones, but today I've got an obscure collection for you. The missing magic cards. Welcome to Gencon. It's North America's largest tabletop gaming convention. This is a Magic the Gathering enthusiast's dream come true. Every year, thousands of players and fans collide in an orgy of card trading, dueling, merchandise shilling, and erotic cosplaying. At these events, not a stick of deodorant can be found, but kinship and friendly folks are aplenty. Well, with the exception of Gen Con 2023. The Heist. The date was August 2nd, one day prior to the commencement of Gen Con festivities at the Indiana Convention Center in Indianapolis. Convention hosts and attendees were busy setting up the show floor, and many vendors scurried about, putting together their booths and stocking them with cards and merchandise. The day progresses without much of a hitch until one of these vendors notices something missing. A vendor representing Pastime Comics and Games, an Illinois-based games outfit, had briefly stepped away from constructing their booth setup, only to come back finding that an entire pallet, stacked to the brim with his stock of Magic the Gathering cards, was missing. A hoard of sealed collectible cards supposedly worth $300,000 in retail value. John Temple, the manager of Pastimes, suddenly found himself missing a home's worth of assets in a matter of minutes. Despite their name, magic cards don't whimsically disappear into thin air, and Jason Temple quickly came to the conclusion that somebody must have stolen them. But how does a giant pallet, a block of cards like this, just suddenly go missing without no one noticing? The distraught game store manager went to the police over the matter, who promptly opened an investigation into what had become the biggest trading card theft in history. And what police later uncovered in their inquiry was a crime of brazen stupidity the likes of which had never been witnessed in the world of geeky collectibles. Several days after the festivities of Gen Con had concluded, police discovered security footage from the venue, showing two men rather conspicuously hijacking a pallet of wrapped magic cards that belonged to John's company, leisurely moving these cards through a hotel connected to the event venue and then into that hotel's parking garage. The Magic Marauders then loaded the stolen booty into the back of a 2023 Nissan Murano, a getaway vehicle that was later spotted driving away from the Gen Con venue with said Magic the Gathering boxes visibly sticking out of the back of it. The most baffling thing to come from this surveillance footage was the confirmation that these thieves literally did just walk up with a pallet jack in the middle of a crowded showroom and steal it with absolutely nobody noticing what was happening. I mean, if you try to do this at a Walmart, you're gonna leave that place with 2 felonies and a black eye. An employee from John Temple's game store remarked on the absurd surveillance findings. Quote, "The amount of either courage or bluffing skills that someone would have to just walk into Gen Con and take a pallet and no one stops them, I don't think anyone I know would have the nerve to go in and do that." Well, buddy, it appears that's exactly what happened. And while the mystery culprit's lackadaisical approach may have been successful in stealing the Magic the Gathering pallet, it wasn't so effective when it came to liquidating the pallet for cash. The big break in this case occurred several weeks after the heist, when a New York-based attorney got into contact with the Indianapolis police, claiming he was representing a client who had recently purchased a pallet filled to the brim with magic cards. Probably just a coincidence, right? The client bought this pallet from some admittedly shady individuals for $4,000, a price he thought was a total bargain. That was until he later saw the news and realized the pallet that he had purchased was likely the infamous missing one from Gen Con. Not wanting to be implicated as, one of the Gen Con thieves, that's when the guy got in touch with the lawyer, resulting in the call to police. On August 25th, the man's attorney invited the police to his office, wanting to show them his client's hoard of potential trading card contraband. Cops would come in and search the comically sized pile of merchandise, which consisted of 115 boxes of Magic the Gathering cards, along with Dungeons and Dragons books and guides, a trove of collectible goodies that matched up with exactly what John Temple was missing from Gencon. Using information given from the sap who purchased the pallet along with additional forensic research, the two suspects were identified soon after. Those individuals being 40-year-old Thomas Dunbar and 41-year-old Andrew Geom. So the Gencon thieves had finally been busted, but the big question that remained was, how did our ginger friend and his swab associate here have badges and access to the convention floor during the vendor-exclusive period to begin with? You might imagine that they used some inside connection to sneak into the place, or perhaps pilfered some badges off of someone else and slipped by security with false credentials. Well, while not quite that dramatic, the truth of the matter is certainly far more ridiculous and stupid, and on top of that, if you can believe it, these two guys were actually vendors themselves. Thomas and Andrew were surprisingly somewhat well known in the tabletop gaming scene, the two being responsible for developing and merchandising their own tabletop game called Castle Assault, which is an RPG tower defense tabletop. A game that was rather hilariously funded by a sum of $30,000 generously awarded to them from other kind-hearted tabletop community members in a viral Kickstarter campaign in 2016. These guys have a lot of nerve taking that pallet. I mean, talk about giving back to the community. Jesus. The two gained early access to Gencon as many other vendors did, with them being there under the premise of promoting their tabletop game, though it seems as though there may have been some sort of premeditation involved, as they actually registered for their badges under the aliases Scott Fisher and Ashriel Lockhart. Either they were engaging in some high-level IRL role-playing, or perhaps they had a specific illegal plan in mind and didn't want to be identified later. I mean, Ashriel Lockhart? That sounds like something I would name my fucking paladin on Baldur's Gate. With early access to the convention, they had free reign to muck about while everyone was getting ready, and they just so happened to stumble upon John Temple's unattended magic card pallet, with a pallet jack attached to it. And, well, the rest is history. When cops finally got him, they looked at their fellow officers and said, "Just like the good old days, boys, it's time to shove some nerds in a locker." In early September of 2023, both Thomas and Andrew were arrested and charged with felony theft. They were facing 6 years in prison and $10,000 in fines at the time. In May of 2025, Thomas Dunbar pled guilty to a lesser charge and was sentenced to 2 years of probation and was ordered to pay restitution to Alec Hochman, the president of Pastime Games, along with $27,141 to Wizards of the Coast. 40 hours of community service was tacked on to all of this, and the man was also compelled to write an apology letter to the Gencon community. Andrew Geom is still making his way through the court system and has a trial date set for July of 2025. It's impressive to me how half-baked this heist was and how close they were to actually getting away with it fully. I mean, the balls on these dudes to just stroll out with the fucking pallet, bro, and then later try to sell the cards. That takes a special kind of idiot. Though even dumber is the subject of our next story, an individual who went to jail over a dispute regarding a convention seat. It's a story that involves Comic-Con, an ink pen, Seth Rogen, and somebody's eyeball. The Comic-Con eye stabbing incident. The date is July 24th, 2010, around 5 p.m. Location, Hall H inside San Diego Comic-Con. The room was packed to the gills. About 6,500 people were inside, and everyone was there for the star-studded movie panels taking place throughout the day. And you'll never guess what the most hyped and anticipated panel was. It was for the movie Paul. Yeah, the movie where Seth Rogen plays an alien that escapes Area 51 and smokes weed and cusses.
You guys partake?
As a panel for the latest Resident Evil movie was nearing its end, Seth Rogen and the cast of Paul were set to take the stage. And you know, this is the era of like peak, Pineapple Express knocked up Seth Rogen, so the crowd starts going nuts and there's something of a struggle as additional people enter the hall to try to get a seat. Things quickly get violent. A scuffle breaks out as two men try to get a front row seat for the iconic Rogen laugh. And when words don't solve the dispute, one of these men produces an ink pen from his pocket and with swordsman-like precision stabs his rival Rogen enjoyer directly in the eyeball with the pen. With the Comic-Con combatant wounded, shocked attendees nearby step in and break up the two. You know, I have to say, a guy getting stabbed in the eye at the end of a Resident Evil panel seems rather fitting. The maimed Paul enjoyer is then taken out on a stretcher and sent to the University of California at San Diego Hospital, where he was treated for a laceration to his eyelid. Thankfully, he wasn't permanently blinded from the stabbing. The pen-wielding attacker, who went unnamed in reports, was subsequently arrested and charged with assault. The man was seen wearing a Harry Potter shirt as he was escorted off of the premises and to jail by police. In a video which I previously would assume to have been lost media, a man actually recorded the scene at Comic-Con as the attacker was being escorted away. The videographer is initially confused at what's occurred, but others in attendance progressively fill him in on what happened as the footage goes on. Take a look.
So Hall H is actually closed. That's why these people are booing. Oh, I guess. Oh, he got arrested for something. I don't know. Anyway, something happened. But anyway, Hall H is closed. So, where's Crystal? What's going on here? What happened?
Emergency and Hall H is closed indefinitely.
And so basically, the guy in there stabbed
the guy
somebody?
who was getting walked away in handcuffs, who had blood on his shirt, stabbed somebody in the Hall H in the Resident Evil.
Just like some random person?
Yeah, I don't know. That's all I know.
Oh my. What happened was that that man stabbed another person in the face with a pen over a seat in the Resident Evil panel at Hall H at Comic-Con.
Eventually, Hall H would open back up and the panel for Paul would commence. And while I can't find any footage of cast members or Seth Rogen addressing the stabbing incident, in a subsequent panel for the first Avengers movie, Robert Downey Jr. does make a quip regarding it. Based Reddit moment.
Don't anybody stab anybody anywhere until I'm done talking.
The following day, Comic-Con's marketing and PR director would make a statement to a journalist regarding the attack, further clarifying what happened during the incident.
What happened yesterday with the incident, Resident Evil, the stabbing?
Yeah, there was an incident in the Hall H in between panels. From what we understand, two friends got into an altercation, and the police were there very quickly, security was there very quickly, shut it down. I think the whole thing took about 40 minutes from the time it started to the time we were able to go ahead and resume programming in there.
From what I understand, the victim of the stabbing made a full recovery and the rest of Comic-Con went on without a hitch. The incident going down as a landmark case of criminal activity, at least in terms of Comic-Con. Was it worth all of that for a fucking Seth Rogen meet and greet, my dude? He just needed one laugh. It was fucking worth it. So we've got a patient with an ink pen jammed into his eye down the hallway, so I won't keep you too long here. Finding a healthcare provider can be a stressful process, and I think we can all relate to that uneasy feeling of going in blind to a doctor you've never met before that you found on a Google search. ZocDoc can help you here. ZocDoc is a free website where you can search and compare high-quality providers, helping you weed through the uncertainty and make a more informed decision. And even better, with ZocDoc, you avoid the secretaries and phone calls and can make an appointment right there on the site. Useful filters allow you to see if providers accept your insurance, and you can also filter by distance and providers who have been rated by verified patients. You'll also see a provider's full listing of available appointments, making it a rather leisurely process to go on there and book something. Usually you can lock in an appointment 24 to 72 hours out, but in some cases you can actually get a day of appointment with ZocDoc. It really is the best way to see a provider on a whim. ZocDoc has over 100,000 providers in its network, and they cover the specialties too, from dental, skin, eye, you name it. This is great for if you just have like a one-off issue, say you got like a rash on your skin or something and you want to get a dermatologist, you can go on ZocDoc and find a specialist easily. So stop putting those doctor's appointments off. Go to ZocDoc.com/wavywebsurf to book an appointment with a top-rated provider today. Now, I've got an ink pen to remove. Yeah, just get the forceps ready. We'll yank it out. Eye stabbings would only be the beginning of absurd violence taking place at Comic-Con. Next, we move to one of the most infamous cases, involving a man plowing over a parade of zombie walkers. Deaf man runs over zombie role players. On July 26, 2014, San Diego Comic-Con's Zombie Walk event was underway. The event is self-explanatory. Folks dress up like zombies, group up together, and stagger about in the street outside of Comic-Con, making the place look like a scene out of Walking Dead, but like one of the good early seasons. However, one motorist on the road apparently didn't get the memo about Zombie Walk. 48-year-old Matthew Pachi was on his way with his girlfriend and some family members to Comic-Con, approaching the venue right as the Zombie Walk was taking place. Matthew, who I should note is deaf, at some point got confused as to where he was supposed to go and ended up driving into the area where the zombie walkers were romping about. The deaf driver, unable to pass through the crowd, gets frustrated and starts laying on his horn in an effort to get him to move. Naturally, this upsets the walkers who are rightfully occupying the intersection for the scheduled event. Agitated, some of them begin banging on his vehicle, and when two zombie-dressed men jump on the hood of his car, the driver loses his composure and plows over the walkers. Matthew's freakout sent multiple people flying. One woman was seriously injured, thrown to the ground with a broken arm, and blood was reportedly flowing from her body. The man drove for a few more blocks until eventually calming down and thankfully stopping before anyone else got injured. Police quickly approached and detained him. At the time, cops didn't charge Matthew, but after viewing the footage, he was arrested and hit with one felony count of reckless driving. Upon being arrested, the deaf man told police, quote, "I don't understand what the big deal is. Isn't this what happens to zombies in the movies? They get ran over and crushed by cars. I was only contributing to the realism of the event." I'm kidding, don't sue me. In court, the obvious question was if Matthew, a hearing-impaired man, was genuinely confused and in fear for his safety when being crowded by the zombie walkers and plowing over them. If that was the case, his culpability would be reduced. Matthew testified in court, claiming that he was in fear while stuck in the crowd. Here he is in court signing his explanation for his actions.
The punching of the windshield, everything that was happening in the car, I just felt the car door open on the passenger side. My wife screamed because the back, there was somebody was against the door, and we panicked and we just went forward. A bump, and I didn't know what it was. I thought it was the curb.
He did express remorse for the woman who was injured, signing to the court this message of sympathy.
I could not get her off my mind.
On November 4th, 2015, the jury found Matthew guilty for his crime, and he was facing up to 3 years in prison. However, some leniency was shown by the judge given his remorse and the circumstances regarding his hearing impairment. On December 11th, 2015, Matthew was sentenced to 3 years of probation, 60 days of home confinement, and 120 hours of community service. Cosplayers may have been the victims in the Zombie Walk story, but in our next case, a group of furries banded together and went on the attack. Furries beat the shit out of a domestic abuser. FurCon is an annual furry convention held in San Jose, California, where thousands of furry enthusiasts flock to masquerade as their animal avatars. While typical headline stories about furries involve pedophilia or animal abuse, this one actually has the furries shutting down an abuser. It all takes place on the evening of January 18th, just outside of the FurCon venue. Witnesses on the street reported seeing a car burning out and driving erratically in a hotel parking lot just up the road on South Market Street. The car then takes to the main road, and furries who were lingering about suddenly hear a woman screaming for help, yelling, "Get out, get out, get out." The vehicle parked close by FurCon, and that's when the group of furries saw that inside the vehicle, a young woman was in the driver's seat, and she was being beaten on by a male passenger, the guy punching her in the face multiple times. Little did this guy know, he had picked the absolute worst place to domestic assault, as these furries were no joke.
My whole life, a bunch of Taekwondo and Shotokan karate.
Enraged, the animal pack swarmed the car, ripping the assailant from his seat and onto the curb. A person wearing a pink dragon fursuit subdues the puncher, as others join in to take shots and restrain him.
Hey, no, Joe, no, Joe, stop!
I told you.
Joe,
she's safe now. Put that down and let's go.
Joe.
It's reported that after getting the better of the woman beater, one of the furries sat on the man's body to keep him restrained as nearby animal assistants called police. The immense weight of the furry subdued the attacker for the time, and the woman who was assaulted drove off before police came.
I was able to grab him by the back, pull him out of the vehicle, and put him onto the ground.
The guy who had gotten his ass beaten by a group of furries was later identified as 22-year-old Dimitri Hardnett, and he was arrested and charged with domestic violence after being taken to the Santa Clara County Jail. It was later determined the woman that the furry saved was this guy's girlfriend, though the matter of the dispute and what caused it, I have no idea. I think this is just some piece of shit that thinks it's okay to beat on a woman if you get in a disagreement. Well, motherfucker, why don't you get beat up by some goddamn furries again? Whatever the case, if you decide to be a piece of shit woman beater, you better not do it in front of the furries, because if you do, these guys will give you a humiliating reality check.
You got some humanity as well. I mean, I think it's also just sort of a natural thing to just want to help somebody in need.
The Roblox Developers Conference is an annual convention held at the Fort Mason Center for Arts and Culture in San Francisco. It's an invite-only professional event focused on Roblox developers, creators, and brands. Mikhail Olsen, known in the Roblox community as Sim Builder, is a famous Roblox community developer known for creating the Roblox Vehicle Simulator, one of the more notable player-developed games on the platform. Mikhail has been in the Roblox community since he was a child, joining the game back in September of 2008. But at the 2023 convention, he was about to become known for something far more concerning. It all begins outside of the RDC convention grounds when SimBuilder was confronted by police and abruptly arrested. Apparently, the children's game developer had attempted to access a restricted invitation-only event, and when refused by security, something of a dispute broke out, resulting in police detaining him. Video footage of the seemingly unhinged kids game creator shows the moment he's being escorted away by police. And as you're about to see, he gets testy with the officers, resulting in him being taken to a squad car.
Piece of shit.
Yes!
SimBuilder's fighting the cops. SimBuilder's fighting the fucking SimBuilder's fighting the police. SimBuilder's fighting the fucking cops.
Yeah!
the hell is going on?
The man's vehicle was searched. Turns out Mikhail also allegedly had a concealed firearm in his vehicle and some ammunition that was troubling to police. He was charged with having a concealed firearm in a vehicle, leaving a handgun in an unattended vehicle, possession of armor-piercing ammunition, and large capacity magazine activity. Sometime after this incident, Roblox convention staff canceled the headline Roblox Innovation Awards event, citing security concerns. Roblox itself was apparently pretty upset with our sim builder friend here. A few weeks after the gun incident, YouTuber Green Lego Cats 123 reported that Roblox had quietly terminated sim builder's Roblox developer account. His vehicle simulator was left up as a playable experience, but he was gone. Though because he was terminated, Mikhail would no longer receive any sort of revenue for his game, effectively meaning the guy had lost his job over this bizarre firearms possession and altercation with security. SimBuilder would stay in jail as his trial proceeded. Eventually, his charges were downgraded from a felony to a misdemeanor, and on September 13, 2024, after pleading no contest, he was sentenced to time that he had already served, spending a total of a year in county jail over this matter. On September 15, 2024, Mikhail, from his SimBuilder Twitter account, tweeted out that the police had finally released him. At a glance, this story looks as if police had stopped a potentially dangerous shooter, but according to Mikhail, he had no such violent plan and the whole thing was an overblown shakedown that ruined his life. A few months ago, on February 21st, 2025, SimBuilder published a video to his Twitter, telling his side of the story from this whole affair. He said that he had the gun because he felt like he needed protection while driving through Oakland, California. He also denied that he planned to attack the Roblox convention or anything, and said that he was going to be suing Roblox for a wrongful termination if they didn't make this right.
First and foremost, I was invited to RDC 23. That is a fact. However, I arrived a day late without a lanyard. When I got there, I tried to show security who I was, providing proof of my account and identity. Despite this, they refused to listen. During this process, security discovered a single firearm in my vehicle. It was a Glock 19. And let me be very clear. This was not an illegal or black market firearm. It was legally registered in Arizona, the state where I reside. The reason I had a firearm in the first place is because of Oakland, California, nearby where the conference was being held. One of the highest crime rates in America. Carjackings, thefts, and violent crimes are a serious problem there. My decision to carry was purely for personal protection, not for anything malicious. I did not go to RDC to harm anybody. Some are claiming that I bought the firearm to assassinate the CEO of GameFam or commit an act of violence at RDC. This was completely false. Another rumor suggests that RDC was shut down because of me. This was also completely false. RDC was canceled due to online threats made on Twitter at the time, which had nothing to do with me. While I was locked away, Roblox took advantage of my absence to ban my account and strip me of my game and revenue from Vehicle Simulator. And my next steps, this entire situation, a massive injustice, I will not stand for it. I am demanding that Roblox unban my account and return my game assets to me. If they fail to do so, or if they fail to disclose my studio hours, I will be pursuing legal action against Roblox for wrongful termination, IP theft, fraud, and damages caused by their decision to ban me unjustly.
In a reply to his video, SimBuilder also stated that he never hit or punched a police officer and that he wasn't charged with assault towards an officer, which is actually true. The stupid sad music behind your video is a great touch, by the way, Mikhail. I'm sure this is going to get you unbanned. The Roblox community is known to harbor its fair share of child predators, but did you know that professional bowling has a few pedophiles in the mix too? Time for another tournament-related story. The bowling tournament pedo. 35-year-old Brandon Novak of Ohio was a notable bowler with many accolades in the sport, competing in professional bowling tournaments for a span of a decade. In 2016, he won the USBC Open Championship, and throughout his career had finished first in many tournaments, including ones taking place in 2014, 2015, 2016, and 2020. While Brandon is certainly well known for his bowling accomplishments, He's also rather infamous in the world of bowling tournaments for something else. That being the fact that he was arrested on live television for CP charges at an event. What you are seeing on screen now is a clip from the 2024 US Open, a prestigious bowling tournament that takes place every year and is broadcasted on television nationally in the United States. Without context, this clip is unremarkable. What is remarkable about it actually takes place off screen to the right, as at this moment, Brandon Novak, bowling extraordinaire, is being arrested. You can see bowler Chris Prather sort of stepping aside and looking over at the man's detainment as the commentators do their best to not draw any attention to the bizarre circumstance.
No, it was great. Parker saw that what we were going through, and honestly, it was nice having bowling next to Justin and having Parker there to talk to when I needed someone to talk to. And boy, there was some times when I needed someone to talk to, and we all know that this thing was really hard.
Turns out, several months prior to entering this tournament, Ross County, Ohio police had put out a warrant for the guy's arrest under suspicion of him possessing CP, allegedly sharing this material on Facebook. Authorities initially had difficulty in locating the man and making an arrest, but when they learned of his tournament attendance and him being there on live television, U.S. Marshals knew exactly where to find him, and at the tournament, they got their arrest. During interviews with police, Brandon would claim that he had purchased porn from someone on Snapchat and was unaware of the fact that there were nude images of children in it. However, he'd later recant that statement, saying that he was in fact aware of the illegal images and had taken steps to conceal them. Later that year, in April of 2024, Brandon would plead guilty to 15 CSAM-related charges, and in June of 2024, he was sentenced to 13 years and 3 months in prison. The man was also compelled to register as a Tier 2 sex offender, which means he'll be on the registry for 25 years with no legal way to appeal this. Thankfully, when it came to this guy's prosecution, he wasn't spared. Another striking story is that of a guy who got busted with an assault rifle on the way to a convention. This takes place on January 25th, 2025 at the Whitechapel train station in London, England. Travelers became concerned after noticing a man outside of the train dressed in tactical military garb, brandishing and pointing around what appeared to be an assault rifle. Great! Another mass shooting. Someone got their phone out and recorded the would-be shooter, who was seemingly preparing for something big. Now you might be wondering why nobody in the train station is freaking out. Well, big reveal. This guy was LARPing, and the AR was an airsoft replica. He was on his way to MegaCon, a Comic-Con style event taking place at the London Excel Center. And other people on the train were going there too, so they kind of were in the know of why there was a fucking Black Ops character doing emotes on the train. The British Transport Police later commented on the Twitter video that went viral. Every year around Comic-Con, we receive reports from people who have been alarmed by weapons being carried on the train. We assess and respond to every call we receive about a weapon. A police response can cause disruption and alarm to passengers, and if it's a prop, may mean that you've kept us away from more important incidents. For your sake and that of everyone else on the train, no matter how unrealistic you think they look, please keep your prop weapons out of sight while traveling. Police later caught up with the airsoft-wielding man who was described as being from South London and in his 20s. They actually arrested him on a ridiculous charge called suspicion of possession of an imitation firearm with intent to cause fear or violence. And he also got another count of possessing an offensive weapon. The guy was later released on bail, and as far as I can find, I don't think he was criminally prosecuted in any serious way. And that concludes our investigation of obscure convention and tournament controversies. Make sure you let me know who or what you want me to talk about next in the comments section. And I want to give a major shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys. Wavy Web Surf out. Peace.